忘れてはいかん。時計と刃物は最高. Who was that guy? Oops. Oh well. Hey, thanks for joining me here at ChronoSteel today. Just having a bit of fun. Um, this is another video in the sharpening and maintenance series that I've been putting together. Hopefully, you've seen some of the other ones, and please don't hesitate to watch more of them. I wanted to focus on kind of the end of the sharpening process, the fine cleanup of the burr and things with, honing and stropping and things of that nature. I'm still trying to get better at it, of course, and had some confusion and still have some confusion. So I'll ask all of you for some assistance in commenting and helping me and others out there understand exactly, what's going on. Some of the basic questions, for instance, like a steel honing rod, a ribbed one, where they run, from the handle to the tip this way. Um, what what uh, what type of coarseness or grit equivalency does that have, if any? And then ceramic rods, and then there's also steel rods that do have a grit to them, the non ribbed type. So just trying to understand which type you use, where, when, and how. Basically, all of those things. So what I'll do is I brought some of those things with me. I'll change the angle here real quick and come back and talk about various questions and understanding and research that I've done so far. So we'll see you in just a sec. Okay, so let me first go over some of the items that I use typically at various times in either the sharpening process or maintaining the edge on some of my knives. We can start here. This is some Sharpal diamond plates in here. I really like these. They've helped me as sort of a beginner. These are the Sharpal angle pyramids, I believe they're called. So it's got like a 17, a 20, a 25, and a 14 as well, which I use most of the time. Got two of those guys. I put them sort of on each end. These are strops, but on each end of a diamond plate when I'm doing sharpening to help me go each way at the proper angle or hold the proper angle. This, I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is that's the Sharpal. Let's see if I can get the right sides here for you. There we go. I think maybe you can see 325 and the 1200. I use this quite often. I had an issue with the first one that I received on the 1200 side. The diamonds actually started to come off of the plating behind them and just revealed straight plate, no grit left, no diamonds left. And one of you viewers was kind enough to comment and let me know that I had asked whether or not that was a problem, and you said yes, it is. Get a hold of Sharpal and tell them what's going on, and I did, and they were great about it. I really do like Sharpal. They said yes, that is a problem, and they sent me a brand new one. Actually, what they did is they refunded me and had me order from Amazon because it was easier for them to do it that way. You don't actually ship them back to them or anything. And then this one is another Sharpal that I've gotten more recently. This is the 220. Let me see if that's visible somewhere. It's like 220, and then I believe it's a 600, I want to say. 600. This one gets used quite often now. That 220 side really lets you establish an edge, an apex quite quickly. So I've sort of leaned on this one more recently. This little non-slip pad here is really handy. If you don't use it, this one here doesn't come with a case like this. And the case is nice because it holds it so your knuckles don't hit when you're actually sharpening. Keeps it up high enough off of the that distance there, off the tabletop or whatever you're working on, desk, table, counter. But this one, when you put it in here, you'd think it would fit perfectly, just like this guy would, but it doesn't. See, it actually rattles back and forth like that. So what I do, and it helps quite a bit, is lay this pad in here. It takes some time actually to get it oriented properly, lined up just right. And then if you come in right on top of it, usually you can just sort of fit it in there. And then see, I'm pushing back and forth now like this, and it's not making the noise. So it really holds it securely in place. So that's the first stage in sharpening, you know, either that, the 22600 or 32512. And when I do that, I also use, or have started to use recently, this this is also Sharpal. You can tell I like Sharpal. This is the hold bubble. It's sort of a magnetic, and it sits on the blade and allows you to sort of dial in the angle that you want to hold while you're sharpening. And it took me a while to learn actually how to use it, but it's really quite handy. Let's see, you go like this, and then not sure if you can see that, but there's all the angles right up here, and then the higher you go with this here, this will dial in the bubble that's right there, and then it will tell you whether or not you're holding your angle when you're actually on the blade itself. So there's only a little bit of a issue when the profile of the blade, for instance, is too low, like a low profile, a thin blade. This will not attach to it properly. It's too wide this way. So I've run into that a few times, and I'm trying to figure out how to get around that. Even these guys with a super low profile blade. Let's see. This is an example here on the 14. So if it's a super low profile, this one isn't, but you know, this you can probably get the 14 on. It's the 14 side right there. This you can probably do it with, but some are so thin and skinny that you can't even, you're resting on this portion of the, right on the edge of the pyramid. So it's no longer giving you a reading on an angle. As you go higher, you know, the angle gets, you get more of an angle basically. So it's a little bit tricky to dial that in exactly, but I'm working on it. I think this is actually a little bit easier once you get used to it to use, as long as the profile is large enough to allow you to attach it. And then these two guys are really confusing to me. I've sort of done research back and forth on when you use which. One of my theories was to go basically up to 1200 on the diamond plates, and then I was jumping over to straight to a strop basically, and the strop I was going to was this one's 1 micron here. So 1 micron is, I think they say, about around 14,000 as far as if you're putting it into a grit equivalent. So, 1,200 to 14,000 is a pretty big jump, I think. So I'm not sure, if going to that is the best way to do things. And then I was going to, this is a 0.25. I use stroppy stuff, by the way. So you can see that. One's, let's see, this one here should be the one, I believe. And this one here is the 0.25. So this is good stuff. Both the same strop. SharpeningSupplies.com, I think, is where I get those. I'll have links, by the way, to all of this stuff in the description. I think I have most of those set up. But rather than jumping to 14,000, I wonder if coming off 1,200, going to this ruby rod, and this is also quite controversial as well, by the way. Sorry if you saw a little glitch there. I wanted to make sure I had some information with me to help discuss this here. I mentioned that the 1 micron strop is about 14,000, and then the 0.25 is like anywhere from 64 to 100,000 is what they say. So that's getting way up there. Very fine work on just the fingers that are left on the very tippy top of the apex when you use that. So, and then there's this guy, and I mentioned that it's quite controversial, and maybe it's only to me that it's controversial. I don't know if any of you out there have had questions about ruby rods versus regular steel honing rods. A standard steel, that like an abrasive honing rod, that's actually removing material as it's used, is like 2,000 to 3,000 grit, approximately, from my understanding. This guy is about 3,000, I believe, is what the company making these says. And it's also the makeup of these is quite interesting, because I had a question about the red ruby honing rod versus just a white ceramic honing rod. And in reality, man-made rubies are basically the same as the ceramic, the white ceramic type rod, but they have chromium oxide added to them, I believe, is what they're saying. So that's how man-made rubies are manufactured, just by adding, it's aluminum oxide, which is what ceramic basically is. And then they add the addition of the chromium material, chromium oxide. And that gives it sort of the red color. And this has kind of leaves you supposedly a more aggressive edge, kind of a little bit toothier edge than the standard white ceramic type rod. So I guess that additive that gives it the color and makes it technically man-made rubies makes the grit slightly different. So, and then this guy, this is your standard ribbed, not really abrasive, quote unquote, type of honing rod, steel honing rod. And it still does actually remove material, though. I mean, think of it. If you've got, an edge, with little fingers, we're talking super micro look at an edge. And these little pieces hanging off, even though it says you're straightening them like this, some of those are gonna break off too, I would imagine. So it is removing very slight amounts of material. That's not its main purpose. It's probably just to mostly straighten things, but you are kind of cleaning that tippy tip of the apex as well. So that's my question for you folks. I've done some research, as you can tell. Might not all be correct, excuse me, but what I'd like is any information from anybody out there who's really in the know on how these things work. What exactly is the difference between a ruby rod and a standard ceramic rod? They both feel ceramic to me, and I think it's just that dopant or that color additive that makes this color. But technically, that's what a man-made ruby is made out of. So you can call it ruby, man-made ruby. I think for the most part, that's it. So my thought was, and I'm still learning, as I've said many times, I like to start with the 220, actually, quite aggressive, and get a burr on each side, and then move on to the even the 6. And sometimes I'll jump from the 6 to the 12, and I'm just using less and less pressure as I do that. Usually with kitchen knives, I'm closer to a 14 degree, or attempting to be in that range. I have Japanese and German or Western knives as well. And then get up to 1200, and then I'm wondering, should I go to this guy at about 3,000, 4,000, and then go to 14,000 at 1 micron on a strop, and then to 100,000 at 0.25 micron on a strop? After I do that, is this even finer than 100,000? A ribbed? Would it make any sense to do a few swipes on that guy, just to straighten up and finally clean what the 100,000 didn't clean off? So, those are my kind of questions. I get really into this stuff, and I'd love to hear from you guys on what your thoughts are, what your experiences are like, what you do yourself in the sharpening arena. And I have many more videos where I actually do attempt to sharpen and try these various theories. So it's just a never-ending learning process, and I'm glad you joined me here today, and I look forward to your comments, your suggestions. Please subscribe to the channel if it's your first time joining. Comment, mention this to other people. I will have links in the description below to almost all of these things. Appreciate you again. This has been ChronoSteel, forged in the timeless pursuit of perfection. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.